Let's talk about Angry Birds. You remember, right? For a hot minute there, that game wasn't just a game. It was a phenomenon. It was on every phone, every t-shirt. It felt like it was on its way to becoming the next Mickey Mouse. So what happened? Where did it all go wrong? Seriously, just think back to the early 2010s. You literally couldn't escape this face. It was absolutely everywhere. It got so big that people were genuinely debating whether this simple little bird could become a timeless icon, right up there with the biggest names in history. But, well, that's not how the story ended. So, to really understand how a titan like this could fall, you've got to go back to the very beginning. And this story, it doesn't start with some brilliant master plan. Nope. It starts with a small Finnish game studio that was about to go bankrupt. By 2009, the company, Rovio, was on its last legs. They'd been around since 2003, but they just couldn't land a hit. The debts were piling up and things looked grim. It all came down to this one final ultimatum. Make a hit game or it's lights out for good. And right in the middle of all that pressure, inspiration strikes. Or so the official story goes. A developer supposedly has this weirdly specific vision of a round, ticked-off bird with no wings or legs, just launching itself at a pile of blocks. He drew a picture, the team saw it, and something just clicked. Okay, but here's where the story gets a little interesting. This vision just so happened to look an awful lot like a popular web game at the time called Crush the Castle, which, get this, came out just 8 months earlier and was all about using a catapult to destroy castles. A remarkable coincidence, I'm sure. So, they had their heroes, but who were they going to fight? Well, in a pretty clever, if not slightly strange move, they looked at the news. The swine flu epidemic was a huge story back then, so they created these sickly green pigs as the villains. And what did the pigs do? They stole the birds' eggs. It was the perfect, simple reason for the birds to be, well, angry. And with that, the game was ready. It's December 2009. Rovio scrapes together the last of their cash to get Angry Birds on the App Store, basically praying for a Christmas miracle to save the entire company. That miracle, it didn't happen. For 3 whole months, nothing. Crickets. The game was a total ghost. It really looked like it was over for Rovio. Then, with what little they had left, they bought one single banner ad in the App Store. And that one ad changed everything. People clicked, they played, they loved it, and suddenly the game just exploded. And I'm not just talking a little buzz. This was a global takeover. Angry Birds rocketed to the #1 spot in over 60 countries. This company that was days away from shutting down was suddenly one of the biggest success stories in the world. This wasn't just about saving the company anymore. This was the start of an empire. With this massive hit on their hands, Rovio made some incredibly smart moves that launched the brand into the stratosphere. And you've got to give them credit. During this golden age, they did everything right. They dropped all their other projects to go all in on Angry Birds. They put out fantastic sequels like the Star Wars one, which was brilliant. They were all over social media with cartoons and tips. And they kept updating the original game, so there was always a reason to come back. The hype was just unreal. This wasn't a conversation about a successful mobile game anymore. No, this was a serious debate. Pundits, fans, everyone was asking if this little bird from Finland could actually become a cultural icon that would last for generations. And the success went way beyond just the app. At its absolute peak, almost half of Rovio's money, 45%, came from merchandise. Lunchboxes, plush toys, you name it. The brand itself had officially become bigger than the game that started it all. But you know how these stories usually go? What goes up must come down. And right at the very height of its power, the Angry Birds empire started to show some pretty serious cracks. So what was the first problem? Well, it was a pretty simple one. After a few years, no matter how many cool themes or new levels they added, the basic idea of slinging birds at pigs was just getting old. The magic was wearing off and players were getting bored. Rovio knew this was happening, so they tried to pivot. They released games in totally different genres, like a racing game and a role-playing game. But it totally backfired. Players just saw them as cheap copies of other, better games, like Mario Kart, but with an Angry Birds paint job. The spark of creativity was gone. And the financial impact of that failed pivot, it was a catastrophe. Look at this. In just 1 year, revenue dropped by 75%. That's not a dip. that's a free fall. The empire was officially in a nosedive. So, facing collapse for a second time, Rovio did what they did before. They made another huge all-or-nothing bet to save the whole franchise. This time, they decided to make a full-blown Hollywood movie.
And wouldn't you know it, the gamble paid off. Big time. They poured over $70 million into making the Angry Birds movie, and it made more than $350 million back. It was a smash hit that brought the brand roaring back to life for a whole new generation of kids.
So yeah, the movie was a lifeline. T-shirt and toy sales were through the roof again. But it didn't fix the real problem. The new games were still seen as unoriginal, but now they had a new issue. They were stuffed with aggressive in-app purchases designed to squeeze every last penny out of players. The movie gave them a golden opportunity, a second chance to get it right. But the very next decision they made would be the one that sealed their fate. It was the move that would alienate their biggest fans for good. In 2019, pretty much out of the blue, Rovio did something fans just couldn't believe. They took the original classic Angry Birds games, the ones you paid for once and owned forever, and they just deleted them from the app stores. They were gone. All that was left were the newer, free-to-play versions filled with microtransactions.
Now, Rovio's official excuse was that it was just too hard to keep the old games working on modern phones. But fans, they weren't buying it for a second. The theory that spread like wildfire was a lot simpler. They got rid of the old games to force everyone to play the new ones, where they could make a lot more money. It was a PR nightmare that basically destroyed what was left of their goodwill. So after all that, what is the true legacy of Angry Birds? Is it the incredible story of an underdog that changed mobile gaming forever? Or is it just a sad, cautionary tale about what happens when greed makes you destroy the very thing that made you great?